I'm Lisa Chris, and I'm the vice chair of the board. And it's great to welcome, I think, I'm the father of the 2.5 years that we've been together. It was March 10th, 2020. So, today we have the great pleasure of having
so welcome, and it's great to have you. So before we get into the commissioner's remarks, what we thought we would do is do our normal introductions that we like to do, but just do a little bit more this time, a little more detailed, because it's the first time that we've been together in person for a while. So we could go around the room, and if you could give your name, the organization you're affiliated with, whichever one, Nancy, you're affiliated with a number of them, so whichever one you want to pick. Your role with that organization, and how long you've been a youth board or youth committee member. And for those of you who are joining us not on the youth board or youth committee, we still want to hear from you, so if you could also share your information as well. And then for the committee members, just for Commissioner Howard's benefit, if you could also just give a favorite memory, maybe not favorite, that might be too hard, but a good memory of your service on the youth board or youth committee, just to give him a little flavor of what what we've been doing and what you've enjoyed. So we're going to start with the room first. And so you're not, I'll put myself on the hot seat first, so you can all start thinking about your favorite memory. So I'm Liz Cribbs. Pete, are we okay?
Just let everyone know. The meeting is being recorded.
Yes, and the meeting is being recorded, just so everyone knows. And by the way, we'll go around the horn in the room, and then we'll go to everyone who dialed in. So I'm Liz Cribbs. I work for UBS in the Family Advisory and Philanthropy Services team. I help clients with their philanthropy. I was appointed to the board by Mayor Bloomberg. So I've been on the board for about 10 years and have enjoyed my service. I'm right now vice chair, acting as chair, but I'm sure that a chair will be appointed soon, but it's been an honor to act to serve as chair. In terms of a great memory, I would say two. One is just hearing from DYCD, hearing from the team about the programs. That's always been a highlight for me. And then the other memory I would say would be Jordana Lee, who's not in the room right now, but she's the director of engagement, the secretary of engagement. She had us all to Lincoln Center for a little get together, and it was just fun to step out of the office and just meet everyone in that way. So that's the two favorite memories of mine. So I'm going to pass it over to Erica. Please go ahead. And do we have a microphone for Erica? I did it the wrong way. Do you want, Nancy, do you want to start?
All right.
Erica, you don't mind? Okay, Nancy, go ahead.
Hi, everybody. I'm Nancy Maxine. I am retired now. No affiliations, Liz. Recently retired, and I was the executive director of the neighborhood houses for many years. And that's why I think I was appointed. I think also my family member. That's what I've been on. And I, in that role, and subsequently, a fierce advocate for youth services, for funding, particularly youth services. And I guess my favorite youth board memory is when we tried to organize a letter to Mayor de Blasio, remember, to protest cuts to the summer youth employment program when Alexa was the chair. We didn't get the letter out ultimately, but I think that was a great role for the youth board. I still do.
Good afternoon. I'm Lucy Friedman. I'm semi-retired. I'm still doing various activities. But for 20 years, I started and ran the School Corporation and then schools. And I started working with, I was just saying to Graham, I started working with youth boardrooms. Youth boards. So 30 years, 35 years, a long time. And that's really, and welcome to
It just got
I guess my favorite, and I've only been on the board about 2 years, was it's been our success in getting young people to come and participate on board with us. They really created a very important perspective.
Thank you, Lucy. My name is Grant Yanni. I'm the Mayor's Office of Talent and Workforce Development. I've been with the office for about 8 months. My role there is the Assistant Director for Workforce Development Board. I work closely with Chris Neal, Abby Siegel. And my favorite moment, I would say, would be this summer. SYP. You know, it's historic moments. So many kids got jobs, so many great placements, and the UN tour. That was a moment we really enjoyed ourselves. Very comprehensive. Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Detective Marina Nunez. I'm covering for Director Alden Foster from NYPD. He's the Director of Community Engagement for the NYPD underneath the Community Affairs Bureau. And my favorite memory this summer was having 813 youth be part of our department, working with us all side by side. That was the largest number that we've ever had. And Director Foster, he normally deals with all youth programs in NYPD, which is grateful to be part of this board. Thank you.
I'm Mr. Sardi. I've been on the board since after the March 2020 meeting, appointed by Commissioner Johnson. I run the crisis practice and sunshine sector organization on my list. I think this would be my favorite memory, my first in-person meeting. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Good afternoon, everyone. Gregory Hambrick. I'm the National Director of Talent Acquisition for DOCO, a mobile healthcare company based here out of New York. I've been on the youth committee, I think about 10 years. I'm not sure if does that sound right? Been a long time. Also on the Community Action Board, which I've been on since about 2008. I served as chair of that board for 2 terms, and currently the first vice chair of that board. Favorite memory, you know, I've been in talent acquisition in HR. I utilize a lot of the services that DYCD offers. When I was with Nobel Sporting Goods, we probably put on 250 to 300 summer youth employment participants a year. So certainly enjoyed that. Now that I see these youth board members here, I was part of the group that helped mentor these wonderful young people here that are advising to the board in youth capacity. So I think that's one of my memories.
Hi everyone, good afternoon. Hi, my name is Ebube Weme. I'm a member of the DYCD's Good Youth Advisory Council. I'm also a former member of My Brother Sister Keepers Youth Council, NBSK. One of my favorite memories on the youth board is when there was a decision that there's no youth board without an actual representation from the youth. So bringing young people on board about 3 to 4 years ago was a big stepping point for all the youth, the 4 of us that were among and on that table, and the grass has been greener since that time, so thank you.
Hello, good afternoon everybody. I'm Aliyah Diago. I'm also a former member of My Brothers and Sisters Keeper. I would say my favorite memory would be how one simple presentation could lead to so many like networking and connections, because I'm sure none of us thought that we would have been here like 2 years later, 3 years later, speaking to you guys this week. So thank you.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Singleton. I'm Assistant Commissioner at ATF. Commissioner, welcome, congratulations. Today is my first day on the board, but I'm really honored to be here working along my colleague. It's just like I think my favorite memory so far this year has been our summer youth program at ACS. We have expanded. We had over 200 college interns working with us, both grad school, undergrad, and we expanded that program to include young people who are going to continue that program vocational training programs in New York City. So that was very exciting. Some of those young people got paid $3,000, some got $6,000. So I was excited for them, and I'm looking forward to doing more of that.
Hi, I'm Jackie Chang, and I am the Director of Advancement at Recess. We're an arts organization based in Brooklyn. I am also teaching right now at Pratt Institute. I teach a class on architecture and development, as well as the class on public space, but I think the horticultural community development is my favorite class. And my favorite memory is actually being on the panel for the video festival a couple of years ago. And it was so interesting because I did not expect that I would get such a great insight into what the youth are concerned about and kind of how they're using media to create it for. So that's been really, that's my favorite experience. And I think I've been on this board for about 5 years, 5.5 years. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Erica Larson. I'm a senior analytics specialist at Leading America. And I was actually also appointed by Mayor Bloomberg as a youth representative back when I was in college, so it's been a while. Gosh, I think I share Jackie's favorite memory. I loved serving as a judge for the film festival. I laughed, I cried, I was just so blown away by the stories that young people told. They told some really beautiful stories, so really. So before we go to the those who dialed in, I just want Anthony and another team member just to introduce themselves.
Hello, so good to see all of you in person after 2.5 years. Anthony Ng, acting chief of staff and chief diversity officer here at DYCD. Been with DYCD for about 8.5 years. And one of my favorite memories of this board and committee is just all the work we've done over the past 8.5 years to engage with each other. Great to see all of you participate as judges or speakers at our events. And really, that's, I think, one of the biggest values adds to this board, how you all partner with us to amplify our programs and support our programs. And definitely look forward to continuing to do that moving forward now with Commissioner Keith Howard here. I know he's excited to meet all of you and get to know you and continue that partnership discussion. So.
Hi, I'm Sarah Marks. I'm here today actually as a note taker, but the rest of the time at DYCD, I'm the Director of Intergovernmental Affairs. And I've been with DYCD for 10 years, and I try to join the youth board, youth committee meetings whenever I can. And what I really enjoy about it is getting to see that there's a network of people who don't work in government and who don't work for one of our providers, yet are still really committed and really interested in youth development and workforce development.
So I think we're going to go to the folks who dialed in, if we could. Should we call people by name or just unmute? What do you think is the best?
We should just ask them to turn on their cameras and unmute one at a time.
So if you could just, Reggie, maybe we can start with you. If you could turn on your unmute. Oh, wonderful. And please go ahead and introduce yourself to the commissioner.
Sure. Hi, my name is George Hulse, I'm the Vice President of Emblem Health.
Hold 1 second, George.
Okay.
Make sure we can hear you here in the room.
Thanks, George.
Try it again.
Can we test again, George?
Try it again, Anthony.
Yes, go again.
Yes. All right. George Hulse, can you hear my name? George Hulse, testing. Can you hear me?
We got you.
Testing, George Hulse.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, I'm George Hulse. I'm the Vice President and Special Advisor to the CEO at Emblem Health. And my favorite moment this summer came after I had a terrible knee accident. I was playing some doubles tennis and I ruptured my patellar tendon. And so I had a knee operation on a Wednesday. However, that Monday, I cut on my computer and I was back at work. And so all my friends said to me, how long will you be out? And I said, well, I was out. I had the operation on Wednesday. I was Thursday and Friday. I was out. And Monday, I was back at work. So I was pretty happy. I thought about all the guys that are working as roofers or police officers doing that kind of work. And they, of course, they wouldn't be back at work. But I was lucky enough to be back at work. So it was that was my happiest moment of the summer, being able to get back at work with only missing 3 days from work after a serious operation.
Thanks, George.
Could you hear me?
We could.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, George.
I think it's fine.
Reggie, can you go ahead and unmute and introduce yourself?
So my name is Reggie Miller. I am the Director of Client Services at the Office of the Appellate Defender. I'm also a youth board member and have been for, I don't even remember how many years now at this point. Favorite memory. I would say collectively would be any of the youth presentations that we've had over, I suppose, since I've started here anyway. Those are always inspiring to me, seeing what the young people that we're working with, what to do and can't do when given the opportunity to do it.
Thanks so much. Denise, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
I'm like Sarah. I'm a guest at this meeting. My name is Denise Williams, and I'm a deputy commissioner here at DYCD. I'm going to echo Ebube. Adding young people to this board was the highlight of the work thus far, especially coming after the formation of We the Youth, the development of a youth agenda, the mayoral town halls, and all the things the young people led that you supported. So I thank you for your support of their efforts at dabbling in electoral politics. So have a good meeting.
Thanks, Denise.
That's everybody. That's everybody that's online.
Okay. Does anyone else would anyone else like to introduce themselves? No? Okay, all right, sure. So I am about to turn it over to our new commissioner. We've been doing this for quite a few months now, but to us, our first time meeting with you. But before I do, I just want to highlight a few things from his bio. Commissioner Howard has served 30 years of public service and has held various senior level positions in New York City government. Most recently, he was Associate Deputy Commissioner of the Sidewalk Inspection Management Division at the New York City Department of Transportation. He was also an adjunct professor for the other professors in the room at Queens College and the Joseph S. Murphy Institute for Worker Education and Labor Studies. Commissioner Howard has also been active in various community organizations and community initiatives in his lifetime. He founded the nonprofit Harlem Group, which sponsored health fairs in government agencies and community-based organizations in the Bronx, Brooklyn, and Staten Island in collaboration with Health Plus Incorporated. The group also successfully enrolled over 100 families in free healthcare programs funded by New York State. As a member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity, Inc., the first Black Greek fraternity, Commissioner Howard created a nonprofit organization called Servants of All, SOA, to build on the fraternity and commitment to community service. For 10 years, Servants of All has escorted more than 700 underprivileged high school and middle school students on college tours to historically Black colleges and universities. Commissioner Howard is married and the father of 2 young adults. That's the first time I've heard that. I am the mother of 2 young adults, so I'm going to start using that. He's a proud alumnus of John Jay College, where he was awarded a bachelor's degree and a master's degree in public administration. And I'm going to go off script just for a second before I turn it over to the commissioner. I was rereading the press release from the mayor's office when the mayor appointed the commissioner. And I can't, first of all, it was very long. Driving to my daughter's soccer game on Randall's Island took me about 20 minutes. My husband was driving, I read it to him. But what really struck me by this is just the number of our community partners that spoke in such a high regard to the commissioner, from the CEO for the Center of Educational Innovation, to the CEO of Children's Aid, to the CEO of the Citizens Committee for New York City. All these Good Shepherd services, these are such well-respected organizations, and it's one thing for government peers to speak highly of you, but when the the community-based organizations speak highly of you, that's when you know you're really doing a good job. So just really impressed by that. Fits neighborhood houses. And then also, just in terms of what the commissioner has done, when you dig a little bit deeper into the details, just his jobs, both at the New York City Department of Transportation, he managed the inspection and construction of safety improvement projects, and he was a special investigator for the Joint Committee on Integrity in Public Schools, where he focused on waste and corruption. At the Board of Education, he was a fraud inspector with the New York City Department of Consumer and Worker Protection, where he led investigations into consumer fraud and targeted vulnerable New Yorkers. And lastly, and this is just one of many, but he served as senior investigator at the New York City Police Department, their Civilian Complaint Investigative Bureau, where he looked into the city's most sensitive complaints that involved young men of color. He is a modern day Superman, really. I feel like we can all leave now that he's here, we don't have to be here anymore. But really just truth, justice, integrity, and doing the right thing. He's dedicated his life to that. So I'm very impressed. There's a thread to your story. So welcome, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Elizabeth. I really appreciate that. And I don't think my son, my daughter would agree to that. In fact, they would just say, Dad, you're embarrassing me. Thank you, and I really, really appreciate, just being here today, especially in our first meeting. So one of the things that actually started me on my role working with young people, it's a tragic tale, of course, and unfortunately it is. I used to live in Concourse Village in the Bronx, part of the South Bronx. And, just going about my day, walking through the neighborhood. And then I heard from some of the young people that a young man named Hassan Bey got shot and killed. And then there was a gun violence situation. And the young people were very upset. If anyone's familiar with Concourse Village, there's a south side and there's an east side, and they were warring with each other, right? So I was talking to then a person in Kevin Woodhouse who's a neighbor, and he said, we need to do something in the community just to bring, both the east side and the west side and the south side together. To make sure that, gun violence doesn't happen again, we don't lose anyone else. So I have a background in sports. I went to college and I played basketball at junior college. And the first thing that came to mind is, well, why can't we do a sports program? So we spoke to the board of Concourse Village, we did fundraising, modest, $1,000 or so. And we actually did a sports camp. And we played basketball in the summertime. And that program, actually ran for 10 years, all through community contributions, And as I was, of course, the ref, the scorekeeper, the coach, and everything else that was associated with it, which I totally enjoyed. And, my kids were very, very small at the time, and I used to tag them along with me. What I learned is that, young people just need to be engaged, and they need to be kept and what came out of that is a collaboration, a bond that I had established with the young people in the community. So that's why, what we do at DYCD, what we do on the youth board, what we do at youth council is so very important, because it actually guides, young people in their lives. So the mayor, Eric Adams, he gets it. He understands it. And one of the charge that he presented to me was, you know, I want to do a full investment in young people. And as you said, SYP was one of the charges, right? I mean, we were protesting and trying to get investment in summer youth program for years, trying to get a baseline in the budget, right? For years. And we went from 75,000 young people to 100,000. And PD was a major partner, 813 young people. Government alone stepped up 5,000 young people who had some youth employment jobs in this year. You know, and the budget got baseline at $236 million. You know. And of course, when everything is, you know, rolling out, you know, we always have members of the press saying, okay, what about Universal? You know? Okay, let's talk about that, you know? Let's talk about what that means to invest, because if we have an application process and we're getting 169,000 applications, you know, historically, you know, we know that we're leaving some young people behind, so we still have a lot of roads to go. We have a lot more investments to do, you know? So, you know, as that signature program, it actually ran flawless, you know, this year, with a lot of our CEOs as champions, you know. The mayor also rolled out with DYCD the summarizing program, which is summer camp, you know, and 110,000 young people, you know, across the board, just having enriching experience, you know, coming out of this pandemic. And you know, I think the president, you know, I don't know if it was a faux pas, he said the pandemic is over with, don't worry, you know, I don't know if that was a thing, but I know his people walked it back, you know. So I don't know if we're in a pandemic or endemic, but all I know is it feels good to be out, and it feels good to have conversation. And as native New Yorkers, if you went down and saw Times Square, oh my God, okay? The tourists is there, people are coming back to New York, and you know, and it feels good, you know. So young people had an amazing experience this year, just going to camp and then, you know, going to museums, going to the Bronx Zoo, you know, so that was very, very rewarding. I got out there and made sure that I greeted, you know, the community-based organization, told them how much I appreciated them, especially since how they helped us out of the pandemic, how they did a Hercules effort in making sure that program still continued, you know. And you know, so us as an organization, collectively, you know, we have to take our hats off to those, to the CEOs and say, you know, job well done, you know, job well done. What we've been experienced as New Yorkers, of course, is a rash of gun violence. Right? It's plagued our community. The mayor has a blueprint to prevent gun violence, and DYCD is part of that blueprint. And when I say he has a forward vision and he gets it, you know, understanding that young people, and all the statistics are there, the data is there, the research is there. The more you engage young people, the less likely they're going to be involved in negative activity. So the mayor knew that. And I have, you know, I make this analogy when I talk to my staff, and I also talk to the CEOs. I said, you know, for years, DYCD, remember at the Thanksgiving family event, you're all sitting at the table, and then you have the kids' table, and then you have the adults' table, you know? The kids always wanted to sit at the adults' table, right? They weren't old enough. DYCD was at the kids' table. Really so, because some of the past administrations didn't make the type of investment that the mayor has. Now DYCD is at the adults' table, you know, sitting next to the hierarchy of the family and having conversations, you know, and that's important, and that just shows the level of investment that this proposal is. You know, so, you know, we're one of the lead agencies, and we rolled out the Saturday Night Lights program. which is a partnership with NYPD to provide safe space for young people on Saturdays so that they can have activities. And we somehow make sure that we are helping, guiding them, engaging with them, so they're not susceptible to the local group gangs that are out there trying to recruit them. So far, we have 133 sites in our community centers, our cornerstone programs, and we're looking to expand it a little bit more. So another signature program that has been a success. Our Runaway Homeless Youth Program just got an infusion of about $15 million from HUD, you know. And our young people on that board, you know, amazing activism. You know, they wrote us a 6-7 page paper outlining exactly the issues that they would like to see us tackle. You know, and we met with them, we were working with them. A young leader there, he's very charismatic, you know, but he's able to outline, hey, you know what, we're having problems. We have young people that are surfing on people's couches. We have them sleeping in the subways. We have them just, you know, having no sense of direction. With this $15 million infusion, you know, we're able to do a lot more research, a lot more outreach. Buying an outreach van, you know, for the first time, you know, with our CBOs, you know, having peer navigators and looking at housing issues as well. One of the things that they expressed to us with the housing voucher is, hey, we need to know how to utilize these vouchers. Yeah, absolutely. You go up to a landlord and you say, here's our housing voucher. But what if the landlord says we don't have any vacancies? Or we don't want to rent to you, you know, and we say, well, we need to do better at coaching you to how to deal with them. What is the referral service? What are the legal services we need to get you involved in? So our staff has drafted up, you know, a way to navigate that problem, you know, to be able to work with the young people to do that. You know, one of the things that they also mentioned is, okay, now that you have us in an apartment, we need to know fiscal responsibility. Otherwise, we're going to be back on the street again, you know, because A, we didn't know how to do a budget. We didn't know how to pay bills on time, you know. So as part of that funding comes financial workshop and a partnership with the Department of Community Affairs and Workers Protection, you know, to really get into the weeds and talk about, you know, how do we make sure that these are permanent solutions that are leading to, you know, jobs and careers. You know? So our RHY program is definitely something that hopefully will become a model that other cities can replicate. So the gun violence, you know, we see the numbers going down, but we still have to be able to engage those troubled youth. You know? And how do you do that? Well, you partnership with credible messengers. You know? We have a relationship with our Q violence groups that are out there in the corner, having conversations with those young people, trying to catch them before they pick up a gun or have some sort of negative outcome. You know? And I can honestly say that our partnership is going in a very good direction with those groups. We are partnering with Fresh Direct, which is, everybody see their trucks on the street, okay? Some of you may have accounts, I know I do, you know. So they are a second chance organization. And they have decided to work with us and the Cure Violence groups to be able to identify those young people who are out of school, who need a job that can keep them busy and deal with some of the issues that they're dealing with. St. Barnabas Hospital in the Bronx has also decided to partnership with us as well. So we're creating and we're narrowing and we're focusing in on those young people that you know, okay, they've been lost in the system, you know, they've had issues. And, you know, they just need some direction, some engagement, some mentoring, you know, so that we can bring them into a positive outcome. So I'm really, really happy that God bless you, I'm really happy about our engagement in that aspect of it. So I look forward to working with those groups. NYCHA, which has always been, you know, a complex organization with several different issues. You know, I use the word complex, but that's a good word. Okay, not to diss them, but you know, a complex organization. As you know, our community centers, our cornerstone program, we have a lot of programming is in NYCHA. And what we found out with our senior programs and our youth programs is that if NYCHA is not making the necessary repairs, or they don't have the air conditioning, the HVAC system repaired, or heating issues, our program stops. So what we have in our DYCD budget is $4 million for repairs. But NYCHA has been, you know, over the past, we've allowed NYCHA just to charge off of that budget if they repairs, but they weren't making repairs as quickly as possible. You know, and our program would have to be interrupted, we would have to find swing space. And, you know, that was hard to do. You know? So we said, NYCHA, we're taking back our money, okay? And what we're going to do is we're going to make an assessment on all those community centers and whether we're picking those centers, you know? Because we have an investment, and our investment is the young people and the seniors that are at that community center. So if we do the repairs and we hire, you know, our vendors to do that, you don't have to worry about it. You can concentrate on other parts of your housing complex. You know? So we were in talk with NYCHA, and NYCHA has been very receptive in being able to say, hey, you want to take that, more the merrier. So again, looking forward and trying to understand and be proactive about things that are going to interrupt our program. And you know, we're looking at that. Equity with small CEOs. How do we get them involved? You know, some of us was a part of large CEOs. You know, we have grant writers and all sorts of resources to tap into. You know, I was a volunteer on the youth board for SCAN Harbor. So in the Bronx, in Malawi's now Wyndham Foster Community Center, we just had a meeting yesterday. And, you know, we hear them. We're at town hall meetings, we talk about public safety with the mayor, and they raise their hand and they say, hey, you know what, X organization just got awarded, you know, $10 million to run programming. We're actually on the ground too, you know, doing programming as well. How do we get connected? So one of the initiatives that we're doing at DYCD is we're engaging in faith-based organizations, and we're also engaging in those small CEOs. And we're saying, tell us the services that you want to provide. And we just did a survey, and we got back some good data, and we're saying, okay, we're going to partner you up with the big CEOs, because it's part of the big CEOs contract. They have to have community partners. So we're going to partner up with you in that aspect. We're going to referee it. We're going to make sure that the marriage is sound. And we're going to make sure that you have programming in those facilities to order for you to build up your capacity so that you can one day compete for those contracts. That's going to be a major initiative. You know, unfortunately, the state law doesn't allow us to do set-asides for nonprofits. You know, that's one of the things we're going to look about when we come talk about legislative changes. And, you know, how do we get the set-aside for MWBE if you're a nonprofit? And I think that could be a game changer. The more community-based organizations we can get, you know, just in the game, just working with the kids, working with the seniors, working with the young adults, the better outcomes we're gonna see, you know. Because we're a large contracting agency, the whole processing is a problem. And you know, CBOs and, you know, even the big ones, if you don't have funding to mix and match and move budgets around, et cetera, then you can literally not do payroll. You know, so, you know, with the mayor's office and the deputy mayor, she charged us to make sure that we start to cut through some fiscal barriers, you know, those paper tangibles that we put in internally, you know, that seems to stop the system or slow down the system. So we, DYCD, we solicited a vendor, and the vendor's going to look through our processes to make sure that we're cutting red tape and we're not doing things to hurt CBO, to be more CBO sensitive. You know, hey, you know what? Everyone knows, you know, that we typically give 25% advancement on your base contract. Well, how about if we do 50? You know, how about if we do 50? And then we have those fiscal controls just to make sure that your invoices are being submitted on time and that we're working with you on capacity building as well. You know, so again, streamlining those systems, you know, so that CBOs can take payroll. We can do that. Right? We are government, we can do that. One of the reasons why the mayor has selected and appointed me is to eliminate those fiscal barriers, you know, that so often stifles, you know, the work. So I am glad to report that, you know, with a 12-week push that we were doing, you know, collectively with other sister organizations in the human services area, we were able to give, you know, I guess in the past 12 or 14 weeks, $5 billion to CBOs, you know, which is an amazing feat, you know, in all of itself. So again, understanding exactly how do we make it better? How do we make it better? So often with DYCD, we talk about youth services, so we know that, but you know, DYCD has two sides of the house. We got the youth services side, and we got the community development side. You know, but the community development side also serves youth, you know, through our, you know, our federal funding. And we need, as a board, we need to take a look at that and say, okay, well, you know what? I understand you got summer youth employment. I understand you got summer rising. I understand you got SNL, you got RHY, whatever we call this youth. But what are you doing on the community development side with our seniors, with our young people? Because they're also giving services as well, legal services, immigrant services, you know, fatherhood initiatives, you know, things that go to a collective community. You know? So we decided that, you know what, we need to elevate what we're doing on that other side of the house as well, so that everybody can see, and I'm gonna make sure that you understand the reports that you're gonna get that's gonna include the initiatives from that other side of the house, so that you can see what the great work that's being done with the community-based organizations there. I think that we have a ample opportunity, you know, post-pandemic, to look at the youth board and the youth council and see how do we remix this? How do you want to function? What do you want to get involved in? You know, you know, it's great that you have rewarding experiences. I want you to have more. I want you to have more takeaway. So I want to introduce you to more outreach, more event participation. I want to, you know, have you involved in social media, PSA campaigns that we need to do in order to alert, you know, our stakeholders out there, policy reviews and things of that nature, you know. So I really want to hear from you on what you think post-pandemic, what the youth board should look like, and how, you know, best it is to engage. Lastly, on, you know, some really crisis nature kind of situations, the mayor just announced to us that, you know, we're going to be budget cuts to everybody and heard it across that board. So, you know, we are subjected to 3%, just like every other city agency. But the mayor did charge us with going out there and finding, funds, grant funds, federal, state, private funds, to close the gaps. So we're going to be building and we've charged one of our units, and Denise Williams, who's on the Zoom call, with being going out there fighting, what those funding opportunities are. And I would love the opportunity for members of the board, if you know of or you're tied into, to be able to identify, funding sources to tap into as well. So we won't interrupt the program and we can move forward in some signature events or create other events that can be just as enriching. So funding, budget issue, very, very much top of the issue, that we need to know and collectively decide how we're going to approach it. So more fun, this is what happens when you put a microphone in front of me, right? I start to talk, but honestly, I can tell you that I'm happy to be the new commissioner for the DYCD. I've been on the job for 90 days so far, and I'm looking forward to working with each and every one of you, and hear your ideas and your thoughts and how you think the agency should function.
Questions, comments, any questions for the commissioner? And we have a mic right here, we can pass it around.
Commissioner, I have a question. In regards to kind of the falling enrollment in our schools and tying that to what's going on in terms of our youth, just kind of curious on your thoughts around that.
Well, interesting that you said that because we haven't seen, and I've met with the chancellor, any changes in our program. And although, some of the young people may have moved on to charter schools or just dropped out or just moved to other states, collectively, at the end of the day, they still find their way into our community centers, So there hasn't been any push to say, okay, we're going to impact you because of the
we're not seeing numbers.
We're not seeing that. However, and here's a prediction, and I don't have any numbers to support this, but I think that the way that we're welcoming the migrants, and the immigrants, I think that now what we saw in preliminary numbers from our surveys is our after-school programs, our weekend programs, our Commons and our Sonic program, the CEOs that are running those programs are saying, hey, we're seeing a lot of services that we're going to need. Young people who are coming in, families coming in who have no ID, having a problem because, typically, we don't have a bilingual person on staff. It's hard to communications with them, So we're trying to collectively decide and be a part of the mayor's reach to the federal government to provide those services. But they may fill the gap that we see in the education.
Yeah.
No, she walked in. I can talk about it.
Okay. It's longer.
First, I want to just say, this is my years I've been thinking about the set aside for not-for-profits, the source of frustration, the state funding, and that, and then you're streamlining the budget. Those are two thorns on the side for a long time. And I have to also say that I just heard wonderful things about last summer. Taking undocumented people for the first time, Metro cards, those things were, and people were so grateful for the kind of support they got. But one question, which I have to say, I didn't see this in the rest of the colleague might said that in the management report, maybe some more your time, that the numbers for Sonic were lower going forward. I don't know whether that would reflect cuts or as Jackie says, reduction in the numbers of kids in the schools, but I was just concerned about that because all the things she just mentioned, it would be great, it's easy to go out with a after school cornerstone or Sonic going to all. That's really a great.
Absolutely, and I'll let Anthony also address it, but what I do know is that with the middle school, there was a hard recruitment. And I think a lot had to do with the fact that a lot of slots were taken. When we went online this year, okay, and within 2 hours, it was filled up. Yes, and I think some of the parents were placed on waiting lists. And then as we weren't able to resolve that at the time we went, some of the parents made other, other decisions on where their children were going this year. It's a problem that we're going to work out with DOE. Just a little background information. We used to, in the schools, the CBO along with the principal were doing direct outreach, okay? Because they knew their kids and they knew the parents. And the parents were like, oh, I have to worry because principal so-and-so knows my kid. My kid goes to summer school, summer rising every year, nothing to worry about. This year, that was taken away from them, a bad policy decision that we're going to correct. And everything was done online. So the sophisticated parents, and no shade to them, right? They got online and they were able to fill up all of the slots, And then when the parents circled back and said, hey, do you have a slot? Oh, no, the slot's there. Along with the mandated kids that have to go to school. The other thing that we saw was a disparity in the per pupil funding. Literally, I think, if I'm wrong, I think you literally see this, we see more elementary kids on the per pupil than middle school kids. And I think that reverse.
I think that's about right.
Yeah. And so, CBOs being CBOs, it's just like, okay, let me recruit more of the younger kids, to fill up the gap as opposed to the middle school kids, which created that disparity. But again, I believe that was explained to me, but I just saw all of those inherent, barriers that got in the way.
I had a question about, it's pretty good. I had a question about SYP. I know you guys have a 60th anniversary coming up pretty soon.
Yes, we do.
And the question is, how would you guys like to get the youth board and youth committee involved going forward as far as those things?
Glad you mentioned it. Hopefully everyone around the table and on the Zoom were SYP participants back in the day. Okay. If not, yeah. So part of our PSA is going to be doing a campaign for celebrating. So we want participation from the board in not only developing the PSA, talking about the outreach, but also part of a celebratory experience.
And let me come back around, Jack. I know you have a question, and I love it. But I wanted Anna Garcia Reyes to introduce herself, one of our board members, and then also Nyla Flake Brown, if we can. So Anna, please go ahead.
Thank you so much, and welcome, Commissioner. Very happy to see you on board. Again, my name is Anna Garcia Reyes. I am the Associate Dean, Community Relations at Ostos Community College. Our mission is to educate students. And I wanted to share with you that over the summer, we received a lot of students from DYCD. We do the best we can to train them and to provide worthwhile experience for them, so that when they go back to schools, they're able to share those experiences. And the students went out, they were marvelous. They were great students, and we want to see more students come to the college. Aside from that, if there's anything that you can think of that you would like to partner with us at Ostos Community College, it would be our pleasure to work with you. We have a center for arts and culture, and there we have many performances of artists and et cetera that come on a yearly basis, and we receive students from different levels of public schools, middle schools, high schools, et cetera. And those activities are free of charge for the students. So if anyone is interested in calling us and bring a group of students to take them off the streets, because it's important to take students out of the streets, especially with this gun violence situation that we have. I brought some packages for you to see some of the work we do. So my pleasure.
Thank you.
Welcome again.
Thanks. And Andre, I know you'll walk the mic to Nyla Flake Brown, but can you introduce yourself too, because you're the backbone of this whole group, so if you could.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Andre Joseph. You get most of your emails from me, and some phone calls. I've been with the youth board now as a backbone for 6 years. Been able to support and meet every one of you and be able to see the growth of the youth board over the years through SYP, through Lateral Leaders, and through a whole bunch of other programs. And also helping to bring on the youth reps as well. I'm happy to be a part of the group and looking forward to working with you much more. All right, thank you.
And I have been with the youth for since the beginning.
Wow, I forgot about that.
Thanks.
Sure. So again, it's a pleasure to be here, to be in person and see everyone's faces. I'm Nyla Flake Brown, managing partner at Untitled Asset Management. I have been with the board, I'm not sure, maybe 4 or 5 years now. And really, I guess in addition to kind of my background in finance, I also have a dance school in Queens, acting in a church in Queens, a part of other community organizations, including the Links and Africa Baptist Sorority Ski By, right there in your bio. And really just with all those organizations, just have a heart for community service. And since I've been on the board, I've been able to host DYCD students at Brookfield. We had them 1 year for the summer break, and we hosted a day of teaching them about real estate. We talked about our developments down at Hudson Yards and in the Bronx. And then I was a host for Step It Up, and just looking for more ways to get involved, and looking forward to working with you.
Thanks, Nada. Anthony, I know we have more business to get through. Can we do one more question, or do we, is that?
Yeah, this shouldn't take time.
Okay, so a couple more, please. So please go ahead, and then Nancy will get to you.
Just wanted to mention some work that you all are doing, and also compliment you too. I mean, you learned a lot in 90 days, and it's amazing what you've been able to, compassionately speak to it. Certainly want to compliment you on Papa and Iola. Something about the 90 days yesterday. So, love the Greek part. And the one thing I want to mention is that I actually was on a task force that DYCD was managing and fully embracing opportunity. So I don't want to forget the great work that you all have done for opportunity. Folks prefer to do, but I think a lot of the work that we do for opportunity will bring down crime, engage those young people. A lot of the work that you all are doing now. Also, just sort of big up the Lateral Leaders program, talk about those great opportunities.
You know what, that was actually my thought, was to ask you about the DYCD experience for the 18 to 24. I think we expanded that age, like for some of the wait a minute, it's now 18 to 24 or 18 to 14 to 24. So when I was at Groundswell and we used to host summer youth employment participants, they were between the age of 16 and 18. But now, right now at Recess, we're working with 18 to 24, coming from the district attorney's office as well as the Brooklyn Court. So I see a huge difference with the kind of jobs and the kind of opportunity this is creating. They're not the same. And also, you know, who's providing the placements. I think, I'm just curious to hear what you have to say about that, because I just don't think the program kind of fits everyone the same way, right? And how many young people are falling within that age group of 18 to 24?
So I don't have the statistics on that. I can get that for you, you know?
Yeah.
So here is a little short story, right? We'll make it fair. So one of the organizations in the Bronx Connect, very big organization, do amazing work in the Bronx. So we met with Bronx Connect over the summer, and we met with their Kill Violence group, which is Release the Grip. We were talking about programming and internships, you know, through our federal funding. And one of the programs that we had was, you know, commercial driver's license. You know, being able to train young people to receive their commercial driver's license. These are young people that are not in school, right? Because our funding are out of school youth and in school youth. So as we were having this collaborative conversation, just like we're having, I turned to one of the head of the Release the Grips, who was a credible messenger on the street. And I said, hey, we have this great program that your young people can fit in, you know? In a series of 6 to 12 weeks, you know, they can get their CDL. And, you know, that can lead to jobs as transportation, you know, Fresh Direct has those type of jobs and, you know, other jobs. And he turned to me, and this was a moment where it just shook me, and it shook my staff as well. He turned to me, he said, you know, Commissioner, that would be a great opportunity. He said, but here's the problem. The young people that we deal with, the people that you described, they're reading at the 4th grade level. How could we put them in a commercial driver's license and study the book to pass that test if they can't pass a standard GED test? He said, we need resources, we need literacy, we need classes to be able to bring them up to a pre-test. And then from a pre-test to a GED or an HSE, and then maybe the possibility of them being able to go and take a commercial driver's license. You know, and I thought that was shocking. It taught me a couple of lessons. One is every program is not the same, right? You got to meet young people where they actually are, you know. So across the board in our program, when we can, right, we're putting in, you know, literacy classes, you know, that can address young people where they're at and bring them up so that we can address those barriers so that they can escape those issues, you know, and go to meaningful jobs.
One thing that we have discovered since the last 6 years we ran our program for that population is that they really need mental health intervention, maybe more than some of the things you actually described. So we found funding for the last 4 years to have one-on-one opportunities for in-house. They will not be referred. They feel comfortable. Once they're comfortable with you, they're much more open to mental health kind of intervention. But I think working with this group that's disconnected or
and then our SYUP program also dealt with young people in night shift. also dealt with young people that were incarcerated at the time, court-involved youth as well. You know, but you're absolutely right. We have to focus and we have to have more targeted interaction. But we have to build programming around that group. And here's another takeaway that he told me. He said those classes have to be small classes. All right, so they can't be big classes because if they're big classes and you know with the teasing that can happen with somebody who's reading at a higher level, with someone who can't pronounce a word or have trouble with their sentencing, that interaction also causes altercations out in the community.
Yeah, frustration.
Yeah,
There's a lot of
absolutely.
trauma. Yeah.
And then Nancy, yeah.
And this has been a great conversation,
Yes,
and I
great.
think, you know, this will be a flavor of how we have future meetings, more engaged conversation on this. But I know Leah and Uwe is waiting, so let's give them a chance to.
And then Nancy can bring us home.
Yeah, and then we'll move on to take care of some
Business, yeah.
And then, you know, we can break, I mean, we adjourn the meeting, but you can still feel free to stay and network and talk a little bit. We have some like refreshments outside as well, so.
Excellent.
Uwe?
Thank you. Jackie, I promise we're gonna get all your thank you so much, Commissioner. I resonate and you said a lot of great things. So once again, I'm gonna echo everything everyone else is saying in this room. So congratulations. Thank you for your dedication so far. It's been 90 days, but it's been 90 days of work for you. So I would say I understand, but I don't. So I'm just gonna, thank you for all your work so far. A lot of the organizations that you mentioned, I have some experience with them, but I'm not a student at the New York University. I am an office manager at the Referent Community Center in Farragut, New York. So I could say that I have experience with the complexity of NYCHA. I have a bunch of unlicensed tickets. I'm also a member of some of the DYCD funded youth organizations. So my question is there a concrete plan from your office to keep supporting these organizations that are doing great work with funding or resources that they may need to ensure that they keep being successful and they just keep building on the success that some of them already have?
So the answer is yes and no, and I'll explain the process. We run by a bid, we run by RFP process. So although I would like to guarantee that an organization is going to receive funding for 10, 15, 20 years, it's a competitive bid, you know. All I can say for you now, in terms of the organization that I'm doing good work, you know, what we were able to do is find ways to partner, you know, with like-minded other organizations to make sure that the funding does continue and that, you know, the services are there, you know. But with this competitive process, you know, I would like to say it makes it neutral, but we all know it doesn't because we have CBOs who are small and can't compete. But I can honestly say that those CBOs who are doing good work, I hope that they're going and seeking private funding, you know, in other ways to diverse their funding.
Thank you so much.
Hello? Hello? No? Hello? Okay. Alright, Aaliyah again. So I would like to piggyback on Mr. Singleton. I've also been a part of a lot of the organizations funded by DYCD, and I would say I like what you said with young people. We're at a pivotal point in our life where our environment really shapes us, regardless of if we choose to pay attention to that or not. So having these programs is really important for us. Having that outlet, having access to these programs is important. And it could put us in either a really good place or a bad place. My question is regarding like social media and outreach. I feel like a lot of these programs already exist, whether it's like large companies or small, but it only targets a select few people in the community. So what are we gonna do to like make people more aware of these programs? Because they already exist. I think it's being aware of them happening. I've lived in, say, Brooklyn for like, since I came to this country. And I've probably been in the community not knowing that, you know, these programs exist until I got into high school. And because I just learned you guys have like middle school programs and stuff, but you're not aware of these programs until you go searching for them. So like promotional stuff and advertising would be like really great, so we are aware of like what's going on and we can like access these programs more.
Excellent question. You know, we do have DYC Discover, you know, as part of our search engine to be able to find programs that are in different communities, but we shouldn't stop there. We're hiring a chief communication strategist for the very first time. And that person is going to be charged with developing a communication strategy that encompasses our, and I call it a tripod approach, right? Because you have DYCD as the main organization, and then you have, of course, City Hall, and then you have the CBO network, right? So that's the tripod. We all have to collectively be able to message, you know, exactly in a straight and understanding narrative to a social media network of exactly what we are providing out there to our stakeholders. I get so many, you know, hand-raised conversations about, you know, I don't know about this program, I don't know about that program. Yes, we need to do a better job. We need to amp up our social media. One of the things that we did this year for the summer, and we, you know, through young people like you know, one of our staff said, you know, I said, you got on TikTok. I said, you know what? You're absolutely right. So we invested in, you know, we had 50 young people, you know, that did summer youth employment at DYC for the very first time, you know. And we said, you know what? Get us on TikTok, you know. So we had a platform on there, which was TikTok, and we were able to at least, you know, start the conversation, start something, you know, going, which we need to continue. So it is a need. We got to do better. We will do better. And when you see this person with the communication strategist come together, you're going to see a collaborative effort with City Hall and the CBOs to do a marketing campaign so that we can get better outcomes.
We have some advisors over there.
Oh, absolutely. You know, I just want to say one more thing.
Yeah.
So one of the things that's, and we talked, you mentioned mental health, right? And we talked about mental health coming out of the pandemic as well. The mayor has charged DYCD with making sure that every single contract that comes out of our portfolio has a mental health component, okay? And yes, some of them will be referral services, right? But some of them are also going to be services that are provided in-house, you know, as well. So the new RFPs that are coming out, they're all going to have mental health component and trauma issues to drive that conversation.
Well, actually, just to follow up on, is this working? Is it, just to follow up on that, these things cost money,
Yes.
and I don't know what a 3% budget cut represents in terms of dollars. Somebody can do the
Right.
well, subtraction really. But how to do these important add-on services if you have to cut?
So the 3% is not coming from cutting services.
Admin?
Not coming from a cut in admin. We have to find creative ways to fill the gap. So I'm waiting for my budget team to roll it out. I gave them instructions. The mayor was very clear. No fees, no cutting services. Come with the creative approaches to be able to do it. Sure.
When do you have to get them to OMB?
Before the 30th of this month.
You better end the meeting soon. What does that represent in terms of dollars, 3% or?
I think it's about 25 for fiscal 23, and then fiscal 24, it's 4.5%. I think
For us, that's 35, 36 million.
And then there's the outer years because the cuts are basically.
Right.
So that's why funding opportunities like grants, you know, private funding will definitely help. So I would love to hear, you know, and tap into resources around the table, okay? Especially my AKA system.
You know, the comment I was gonna make before I had it in my head was, the Berlin Homeless Youth Additional Funds, great. I mean, I've been working on this issue for like centuries. Will it result in additional bed or residential space, which has been the biggest problem for this most vulnerable group?
So right currently, we're funded at 813 beds.
That's nothing.
I know. But you gotta remember, you know, in terms of, you know, the bigger picture, any overage, it gets handled by DSS. So, you know, they're the big people in the picture. This is.
Yeah, no, I know, you know, but of course.
Also, Nancy, on that, we have data for our beds, 16, 20-year-olds. There's, you know, we have some fair amount of data. So at any given night, a young person needs a bed, it's a matter of them connecting to our providers, our profit centers, and we go work to find the bed. None of that. So data shows that there's nothing. You know, I know there's always an issue with the advocates and providers, like, you know, you get turned away for a bed, you can't find a bed. It's about making sure they get connected to.
They don't like staying at DSS's.
Well, I don't blame them. And it's probably not appropriate to them.
Well, at a certain age, I think there's a certain age that they take with
Is it 21?
Well, I mean, DSS, they have, you know, they can take them 18 and above. They have some youth or young adult shelters, so we do have relationships with them where any young people, youth or young adult in that age range, come through their system, they can also be alerted about the DYCD system. So there's a choice for those young people.
And when we met with DSS and we talked about the exact thing that you know, they said we do have capacity, we indicated we do have capacity, and we do have some youth services and wraparound services. And this is the Commissioner Jenkins said, we need to do a better job of communicating to the stakeholders.
I'm going to, thank you, Nancy. The meeting is on everyone's calendar until 6 p.m., but we're going to try to get through the business by 5:30, so we're going to, we still have a little bit of time. I'm going to invite everyone to stay for further discussion. If you can stay with us for a few minutes after the meeting, the commissioner is happy to do that. So I can do my job properly. I just want to ask if we can have approval of the June 2022 minutes, if anyone had a chance to review. Motion to approve. Thank you. And thank you, Abube. So the minutes have been approved. I'm going to now turn it over to Nancy for the annual youth board officer elections.
All right, well, we have unanimous consensus that Liz should continue as vice chair. And for Donna, Lee was not here.
Nancy, she wants to do the microphone so that we are to.
Hello? Okay. Liz Cribs has been nominated to continue as vice chair, and she's graciously agreed to do that. And Georgina Lee as secretary, who's also agreed to do that. And they've done a terrific job, I think, of leading us since our chair left to join the city council. Demotion, clearly. So I did not, Anthony sent out the message, I did not get further nominations, so I think it's pretty clear, Liz, that you and Jordana are invited to continue, but we do have to take a vote
This is just a youth board member.
Youth board, not youth council. Youth committee, right, you know, you are, okay.
And so, all those in favor? Do you need names or? No? Okay. Okay. Any decline, any extensions? So congratulations, Liz.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure, and look forward to working with the new chair when we, bring that.
You know, I asked Anthony earlier today, I said, so how do we get a new chair? Because we've had a vacancy, since Alexa was elected to the council. And it is a mayoral appointment, we don't choose the chair. It is a mayoral appointment, and hopefully, I know the mayor has a few other things on his mind, but hopefully we'll get some news about that soon.
Again, I think, to your point, I think Liz as vice chair, acting as an acting chair, that's what it says in the bylaw, the vice chair and the acting chair. Thank you to all your service as
Thank you.
Peter McCree, who's not here today, he's also.
He's been wonderful.
Well served, like we are now. We'll continue to be the officers, and when City Hall wants to let us know about the chair, they want to come in. They'll let us know.
Yeah, and we have an important person in the room here that might be able to whisper in someone's ear some ideas, but it's actually nice that you got to meet the board and learn what we do, because that might help with any suggestions you have, and we're looking forward to supporting whoever the chair is, so.
Listen, the
Yes,
other
Nancy.
question is, or the other comment is, we are all mayoral appointments, but that doesn't mean that we can't suggest things to you, Commissioner, if we have ideas about adding folks.
Absolutely.
Good ideas, and, whether they're people from the nonprofit community or the business community, or the academics. We can direct those ideas to you and the activity.
Absolutely, there's a portal that we submit the names along with the resume, maybe a small cover letter or something like that, and it goes to the mayor's office.
So if anybody here has ideas about good people to add, let us know.
I think just the last thing, and again, welcome anyone to stay and talk, is just any announcements or updates. Anthony, Commissioner, I don't know if we have any from you all, or.
Just so that everyone's aware, so tomorrow is the city's first FWBE procurement fair in person in 3 years. So there's a theme here, we're trying to come back in person and what have you. And this is a chance for the FWBE vendors in the city to meet with different city agencies and understand how to do business with the city. So, we as DYCD will be there with other city agencies there, meeting with the FWBE community. It's being held at Barclays Center in Brooklyn tomorrow. And there will also be the FWB office directors meeting will be held at 2. So the commissioner will be there, I'll be there, our ACT will be there too. But I think what's exciting here is it's nice to see that this event is back in full effect. It's happening at Barclays Center, which is a great venue to have that. And I think this is another thing I think maybe the commissioner didn't mention today, but that's how we work with. Oh, he mentioned it briefly, but how we continue to work with the FWB community in terms of the opportunity to do business with DYCD directly, something we definitely want to continue to do. But even more importantly, most of our funding goes to the providers. And a lot of providers that we work with, they have to buy goods and services and professional services. They may need capacity building services, and what have you. And we at DYCD have done 2 events in the past year and a half to connect MWBE vendors to the CBO and say, hey, you're an MWBE. We know that a lot of the message to use to do business with the city agency and government. You can, for DYCD, that looks a little different, right? There are ways that we do business with you directly, and we have. But most of our funding and our over $1 billion budget this fiscal year is to the hundreds of community-based organizations that we fund, right? So that's happening tomorrow at Barclays. So if you want to attend, or no MWE vendors who still may want to show up, I still can sign up on it. Talk to me afterwards if there's anyone you think still may want to attend. Because I'm sure we welcome just as much participation as possible.
Will they help them sign up for?
SBS, they do a lot of work to help companies get their certification. So, SBS is organizing this event, so I'm sure that firms can talk to SBS. I don't know if they'll have trainings on the spot, but I'm sure they can give some basic information about the process. And then SBS continuously has workshops to help firms certify, get the city certification.
What time?
The fair is, it's like 9 to 4, 10 to 4 at Barclays.
I'm only asking for myself. We have ACF.
Yeah. I'm sure your MWE folks and Chief Diversity also know about it.
And Anthony, Peter reminded me to thank you, Peter, if anyone who's dialed in has any news announcements, anything to share, Reggie, George, Denise, anything from you? We appreciate you staying with us and hope to see you, in person at the next meeting. Please, George.
Yeah, I'd just like to say thank you so much for the opportunity. I want to thank Anthony for the opportunity of doing this remotely, and most certainly very happy to meet the commissioner. We, like everyone else, I stand behind him 100%. We look forward to a real good administration. Very impressed with the things he shared with us, and look forward to a real good term working under his leadership. So thank you very much. Absolutely delighted to be a part of this today.
Thank you. Thanks, George.
Anyone else on the line? Well, thank you all. I think we can adjourn the meeting. Thanks for being here, and please feel free to stay and chat. Thank you.
Yeah, let me have large, medium, or shirts.
I'm great.
They're in the back.
You like that?
You want to buy anything? Yeah. So close, maybe it goes on.